You don't get to hear a lot of online sessions at Affiliate Summit because everybody's pretty focused on online to online. We're a little different. We're focused on online to offline and the attribution methods therein in tracking and generating leads. So I'm Brandon Hoffman, a.k.a. the Ad Hustler, also a magician, as you can see from my picture. We're here with Amanda Orson. I've been in online advertising, local online advertising, for probably like 13 or 14 years. So since I was almost a teenager. How long have you been doing?
Since 07, 08 maybe.
So we're OGs in this. So we've been doing a lot of online local. We actually spoke at Affiliate Summit, like 5 years ago or something like that together. On local was one of the best received sessions at Affiliate Summit. So we're going to get this party underway. Amanda's going to speak first for about 20 minutes about traffic sources on the local level, ones that are effective for generating leads and generating results. After she's done, I'm going to speak a little bit about lead generation, conversion tactics, and online to offline attribution. So, Amanda, you ready to take it away?
Yep. So generating traffic for local business. Generating traffic is pretty much the same regardless of whether you're running your own affiliate campaigns or if you're running campaigns for someone else. By a show of hands, how many people here are actually running campaigns for other people? 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right, about 50-50. So for the context of this particular session, I'm going to talk about running campaigns for offline clients, not for myself personally, although I've done both. But it's highly material to sort of how you approach the campaign and how you ultimately sell the campaign to the end customer. Walking through the different kinds of traffic generation. Display advertising. Display advertising, banner ads, as we all know, will probably be the thing that your client or somebody that is familiar with internet advertising will be most familiar with. But the format and the way that we actually go out and purchase display advertising has changed fundamentally in the last 4 or 5 years. So when we first did this conference back in 2011, 12?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Programmatic was something that we talked about 0%.
Yep, wasn't hot at all. Wasn't on the local level at all.
Nothing. So that's the biggest difference of all, or for the display advertising realm. That's absolutely the biggest difference. In about 2012, it started to get hot. I would say that by 2013, 2014, it was representing a lot of the display market share. And just this past year, it now represents 50% or better of how display ads are bought and sold, and more than 80% of how mobile ads are bought and sold. So when I say programmatic, what I mean, for those that might not know of it in the audience, is it's just the automated acquisition of traffic through a very specific targeting using an algorithm, which is a very fancy way of saying it's simply automated. What we're doing is instead of acquiring a spot or a media buy, we're actually acquiring an audience. There are probably dozens of vendors at this point through which you can buy display ad inventory algorithmically. Try and say that 10 times fast. Algorithmically. Better now. The big difference, though, is simply the levels of targeting involved. Video ads, I would say video ads are probably one of the best use cases right now, or one of the best things that you can get into right now, especially if you're working with clients, because you can rinse, use, and repeat them. Brandon does a lot of commercials for his clients with his agency. But with video ads, we can talk about pre-roll, we can talk about YouTube, and I think that the big game changer that'll be coming up very shortly, I'm expecting that we'll see a video ad format within search results, probably within the next year or two. Video ads can also be used to high efficacy on Facebook. So to give you an example, I would say that the industry standard CTR or engagement rate for a display advertising campaign is probably in the 0.07% neighborhood. And that's for something that is, fairly as targeted as most media buying agencies can make it. With programmatic or algorithmic targeting, we can see CTRs in the 0.15, maybe 0.2 if it's really good or very targeted. With video-based ads, we're seeing engagement rates that are 3 and 4 times that. And within Facebook specifically, we're seeing video ad engagement rates that are north of 3 and 5%. So it's a really effective ad format. Search ads and SEM. Search ads are probably as old as the internet at this point.
Pretty much.
The big difference is probably click to call on the local level. There are many new varieties of local products within SEM campaigns, but click-to-call is the one that we're seeing the greatest efficacy with lately. The CPCs are extremely high for click-to-call campaigns, but it's so specific. And just last year, Google announced that more than 50% of all of the searches that it sees are mobile. So breaking it down to the old school plumber example, if you have a leaky toilet, you're probably not going to jump on your desktop and Google who to have fix your toilet. You're not going to go look for plumbers in your zip code. You're probably going to pull out your phone and go, fix a leaky toilet, 17603 or whatever, and that's where you're going to see the results.
The thing that's interesting about search is even though it's as old as pretty much the internet, it's still one of the most effective sources of media right now. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, it converts still very, very well. It's extremely effective. It's cost effective even though it's expensive because the high conversion rate compared to, let's say, display. So search is still extremely effective even though it's old.
I would say that there are some specific industries where it's almost impossible to break in. Like if you're a small attorney right now trying to bid on keyword terms related to, I don't know, DUIs or family law, being able to buy those keyword terms in your geographic market is so exorbitantly expensive that if you're not a big player, you can get pushed out.
Right. I mean, I deal a lot on the automotive level, like a lot of auto clients, car dealerships, car automotive groups. And you're talking about sometimes at this point like $5, $6, $7 CPCs for a local business. Mm-hmm. So it can get very expensive, but it can still be very effective if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that we walk through with clients. We tell them at the top of the funnel, brand awareness is probably going to be a display or some combination of display. Middle of the funnel is something with a little bit more intent. So you're looking at something like Facebook. I think sometimes if it's very well targeted video, it can be highly effective there. But for actual media lead generation, I think that the bottom two are probably SEM campaigns and email.
And probably Facebook ads.
Yeah, you think Facebook?
I do really good with Facebook ads for lead gen.
Are you targeting in-market?
In-market buyers.
Yeah,
yep.
That's why. By the way, that's a great way to target. Social ads, getting back to Facebook. Facebook also, for local businesses specifically, Facebook is really trying to break into the local market. They launched, probably a few years ago now, but I think it's only gotten ubiquitous lately, local awareness ads, which is an opportunity to basically create ads that actually include a little map snippet below it for your local customer. What's really great about that is that you can use that to lower your CPCs on other kinds of campaigns. So sort of backing back out of this and looking at this from a 30,000 foot level, local advertising is extremely fragmented, and you really have to take an omni-channel approach, which is to say that you have to use more than one method of targeting. But what's great is that if somebody sees you on Facebook and then they see you, on a display campaign somewhere else, or you're retargeting them, or they see you in your inbox, it has a cumulative effect. Really, with local advertising, it's much more about consistency than it is about perfection. So getting back to local awareness ads, one of the cool use cases that we've been able to use for that is to target specific sporting events, because you can target a location, in this case, an arena, stadium, and create a small radius around it. And you can run a lifetime campaign of a certain dollar threshold and just blast every single device that happens to be on Facebook or Instagram, if you're using that, which if anybody is posting selfies inside a stadium, which is highly likely, they're probably going to run into your ad. Mobile ads, we've touched upon this in the past or through the other channels. Mobile ads specifically are probably, outside of social and SEM, the big thing that we use mobile ads for is geofencing and geotargeting specifically. So I would say that's a big difference between our previous presentation in 2011 or 2012.
Correct.
So geofencing, very, very, very granular levels of geography can be targeted. I'll walk through this in a little bit more detail in a second, but basically you can target people by their mobile device wherever they are, and what I really like about it is you can also target by recency. So you don't necessarily have to capture somebody when they're inside that building right now. If they've had their device on, you can target them in some later date, like 30 days out or even 365 days out. Programmatic TV. Right now, most programmatic TV is still limited to over-the-top. By over-the-top, I mean Amazon, Fire, Hulu, that sort of thing. I think that this is a growth market, and we will see this becoming more ubiquitous with the newer set-top boxes that you'll see on Comcast or Verizon or whoever your cable internet provider is. The reason that this hasn't gotten bigger yet is right now those advertisers are making, or excuse me, those cable companies are making a lot more money to sell those ads through their conventional sponsorship model. That's not going to be the case forever. And as more media buyers, especially with giant budgets, start demanding being able to target people and basically get more efficiency out of their advertising, you'll be able to purchase more inventory like this. There are probably 3 or 4 vendors that offer programmatic TV right now. It is extremely effective, and if you don't know, TV advertising still accounts for the vast majority of most advertising dollars. When I last looked up the statistic, it's something like 40% of every media buying budget still goes to TV. So the potential for this channel in particular, as it comes down, or as we start seeing more of it, probably by 2019, 2020, is huge. And digital out of home. So digital out of home are those visual billboards and place-based advertising. So, digital screens or something similar that you might see on bus stops. They're also super common in malls. I know nobody goes to malls anymore, but at least not in this room. But they're actually wildly effective. So what I really like to say, or the reason why I point out all these different kinds of traffic generation methods, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. There's no one perfect way. But when you use several of these different kinds of targeting in combination, it's really effective for the end advertiser. So I'm just going to walk through the different kinds of targeting. These will mostly apply to programmatic channels, and it's in this case, I'm going to talk mostly about display, but I'll walk through them fairly quickly because we can go into super depth about any of these. Types of targeting: interest-based, demographic, technical, date and time, geographic. Oh my gosh. Interest-based. So behavioral targeting, that's probably the thing I've used most for display campaigns in the last year or two that I've gotten much better at it than I was a couple years back.
Yeah, behavioral and cookie-based. I do a lot of cookie-based targeting.
Yeah. So what's kind of creepy, I guess the creepy side of the advertising world now is that your behaviors are being tracked, cataloged, and they can be accessed by end advertisers for cash. So by that, I'm saying any website you visit, if you're on something and Google or Facebook is open in another tab, or even if it's closed in another tab but you haven't materially logged out, all that information is being cataloged about you. It's not just the information that you volunteer to Facebook or Google via your social profiles. It's also behavioral targeting can also take into account places you've been via your phone, which we just talked about, and where your phone actually goes, or not where your phone goes. The different kinds of things that you've looked up on your phone, you can actually track across. So with behavioral targeting, what we're doing is we're actually targeting you based on who we think you are through an aggregation of all of these different data points. And the difference there is that contextual or content marketing or channel marketing, like we would have done in the past, is paying for a specific placement or paying to be contextually relevant, like advertising a bank in the finance section, that sort of thing. Retargeting, of course, is probably the most popular channel. That has not changed very substantively, except that it's gotten a lot better. But I like to say that it's always easier to squeeze more lemon juice out of lemons you've already purchased. So retargeting is really, really key. Demographic targeting, like all the different kinds of ways that you can target someone specifically are just insane, especially with Facebook. Facebook's demographic targeting on the back end is probably the most robust demographic targeting thing I've ever seen anywhere.
You can target pretty much anything.
Yeah, literally anything. Like, so for financial data points alone, you can target by credit score, you can target by liquid net worth, you can target by real estate, home ownership.
People who own specific kind of cars, people who intend to buy kind of cars, people who own kind of houses, people who have certain credit, pretty much anything you can use to target on Facebook.
And even the cohorts are getting pretty big. Like we have one campaign that's running for just people that have liquid net worth of greater than $2 million. It's getting really specific. Education, religious affiliation. So I recently relocated from Connecticut to the center of Pennsylvania. That's a conversation for another day. But what I didn't realize is how incredibly lucrative the religious affiliation targeting segment actually was. We have a lot of clients ask for that because faith-based audiences only want to advertise to faith-based audiences, or here in New York, I'm sure that there's probably some demand for that. But that's actually something that we can target pretty granularly on Facebook. Families, household status, of course, everybody wants to talk to moms because moms spend money. ethnicity. I mean, just the demographic targeting levels are ridiculous and really fast because we're going to walk right into Brandon's amount of time. Technical targeting, type of device, type of browser, and language. Language is really the one that I would use the most here. Type of browser is really most important when you're trying to target people that have old tech on the weak correlation that you think that they're more likely to buy something. Date and time. There's no sense in advertising for your local pizza shop at 7 in the morning. I'm probably not going to be in market for. Actually, maybe I would be in market for pizza at 7 in the morning.
Maybe.
Yeah.
They just won't be open.
Yeah, they just won't be open. But coffee chains, donut shops, that kind of thing. Anything that would have a date and time attached to it. Day parting campaigns can help your ad spend go a lot farther. Geographic targeting. You know all of the big ones here. What I'm really going to talk about are getting really, really geographic targeted. And specifically, I'm talking about IP address targeting, geofencing, and recency. So IP address targeting, good example. Colleges buy a list from the college board and they spend a crap load of money on it. That's a technical term. That list is something that they usually spend thousands, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to direct mail. And you can take that same body of lists and get on inside any connected device in those homes. And it's not perfect. It's probably 50% accurate. But being able to access every connected device inside a home from a purchased list, if you're a parent with a child that's about to enter college, or if you're about to enter college, has a much higher efficacy of actually getting in front of the right person than a print mailer does. I mean, when was the last time that anybody looked at direct mail? Right.
Actually, I think direct mail works.
You do?
Yeah, from the experience that I had, direct mail actually does work. But not to say that this doesn't work. So
it's just very expensive.
Yeah, very, very expensive.
And if you don't
talking about like 60 cents a mail or 70 cents a mailer, could get even more, $1.
Oh yeah, and the big problem is that you are writing the copy probably on those direct mail pieces,
right?
And you're actually talented at doing that. Unfortunately,
I am very talented.
Unfortunately, many clients sort of go with the lowest possible bidder on creating the copy, and that's the big problem. Geofencing again. So this particular example happens to be the Morristown Airport. I'm just going to walk you through a very quick case study since I'm running up against my time. So for this particular campaign, I'm working with a local charter air services company. They want to be able to target people that will also charter planes that are not already clients and want an alternative to Teterboro, which is apparently like the worst FBO or charter plane place in the country to fly out of. So what we're doing for them is we're targeting every other FBO, or in this case, sort of like a hangar and waiting room where charter planes are managed at the top 25 airports in the country. With just geo-targeted ads that will be displayed on mobile devices for people that happen to be waiting to get on their plane, or who happen to be waiting on their plane, or who are just passing through but are otherwise taking a flight. This combination, or this campaign in combination with Facebook advertising campaign, just targeting extremely high net worth individuals, has only been running for 2-3 weeks, and it's already resulted in what would be leads that will pay for the entire length of the campaign over the next 12 months. So it's an extremely effective advertising method when done in combination, especially if you have a very high cost product and you have a very specific location attached to it. And recency. So good example of recency, because I didn't know anything about the center of Pennsylvania, we have a hotel that wanted to be able to fill rooms between Labor Day and Memorial Day. We are targeting people that are Christian tourists, which I didn't know was a thing until very recently. And for that particular campaign, we are targeting a specific theater called the Sight and Sound Theater. Every mobile device that has been seen at that particular location in the preceding 365 days. And then we're applying a donut radius over the top. We're not targeting anybody within 2 hours because we know that they're just going to go home. And we're not we're not expanding that radius beyond 6 hours because nobody flies to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So the donut radius in combination with a little bit of geo-targeting and some recency is going to help fill their beds this fall.
All right, so I'm going to step in here a little bit. I've been a little bit quiet because the first part was kind of Amanda's part of this with traffic sources. So what I specialize in is local performance-based marketing. So getting results for clients that want to be able to track what's going on, try to convert online traffic to offline leads or to offline business. So it's similar to affiliate marketing, except that it's on the local level. So one trend that's kind of alarming to a degree to a lot of local businesses and a lot of local marketers is that there's a significant decline in form fills right now. So we're noticing, and a lot of our clients are noticing, that when somebody goes to their website, less and less people are filling out forms. So part of it is I do work pretty heavily in the automotive niche and other kind of online retail. People know that if you fill out a form, that they're going to get harassed by the business. So people are getting smarter and smarter, and they're filling out less and less forms. So it's making a real hassle for people to be able to track the results, because in the past, people would sell, or affiliates or local marketers, whatever, they would sell leads to local businesses and then charge them for the lead. Now it's getting harder and harder to do that because it's harder and harder to generate a lead. So there's also a significant increase in mobile traffic, which is part of this, and that's hurting the form fills because people are less likely to fill out some huge form on a mobile device than they may have 10 years ago when they were on a website. So what's a hustler to do? So there's always a way to work around this. One thing you should do is think simple, think mobile, and think in funnels. You have to significantly simplify now what you're doing on your landing pages in order to get the result that you want. You have to be thinking about mobile first. Always be thinking about how is somebody going to see this on a mobile device and how is somebody going to interact with it. And even though you're doing local, you got to think mobile, because everybody that's looking for something local is on their iPhone or on their Android or whatever, and they're looking up, as Amanda used as an example, I need to fix a leaky faucet in this zip code, or they're looking for what they're looking for on a mobile device. And last but not least, you have to think in funnels. So you have to think about how are you going to get people to take the first step you want them to take, the second step you want them to take, the third step, and so on until you get the desired action. And you have to really simplify this down. You can't just throw them to a landing page that has a full form lead on it and expect them to fill it out. It just doesn't work like that anymore. You have to think, how are you going to get them to click the ad? How are you going to get them to take the next step? How are you going to take the next step? And how are you going to finally get what you want in the end out of them? So landing page design is a very important part of this, because how you design your landing page can totally make or break your campaign. If you're a fantastic media buyer, but you don't know how to design a landing page, or you don't know how to convert people, or you don't know how to build funnels, you're going to fail. So you have to think about the entire process holistically, not just the traffic, not just the conversion, the whole thing together. So as far as landing page design goes, I wanted to actually share with you some landing pages that are working really well right now with my clients, so that you can get an idea of what I think works on the local level. And if anybody has any questions along the way, just raise your hand. Let's just get to the questions. I don't mind if you interrupt me. So this is a dealership that wanted to run a service campaign. So they wanted to get more business into their service departments. So what I came up with was a landing page for coupons. I mean, it's not revolutionary, a $19.99 coupon. But what is interesting is that it's not part of their website, because the dealer websites are awful. Most of them aren't even responsive at this point. They're super complicated. People can go anywhere once they get to the website. They can click on About Us. They can click on all these different things, look at inventory. They get confused, and they end up doing nothing. So on my landing page, this was actually being run from Facebook ads. Facebook ads was driving traffic to the landing page, and it was promoting a $9.95 oil change. So when you got there, what I was saying, you have to make this simple. So it's not overly graphic-y. It's not overly designed. We have the ability to design much nicer pages than this, but the more simple pages are the ones that are converting well. We have it on desktop. We have it on a mobile device. So it's totally responsive depending on the size of your browser. Now, we're not asking for any information right here. We're saying claim the coupon, because in sales, little yeses equal big yeses. So you want people to just click, say yes, move through the funnel, get them to do what you want. So in this situation, once they get to the landing page, they have to click a button that says claim the coupon. Once you do that, you're basically saying to yourself, I'm interested. Once they click the claim coupon button, we take them to the actual coupon. On the actual coupon page, they have the ability on desktop to either print the coupon, email the coupon, or text the coupon to themselves. And then on mobile, we did email this coupon or text this coupon, because printing the coupon doesn't make any sense, because you can't print from a mobile device. You can if you have like air printers, but most people don't print from their mobile devices. So by not even including that option on the mobile side of this, it keeps people from getting confused. It keeps people from thinking too much, and they go through the process. So if you were to click the print coupon, a dialog would come up to print. Email coupon, a little form comes up just asking for their email address, and then the coupon's actually emailed to them. And then with texting coupon, the same thing. A little form comes up, ask for their mobile number, and then we text them the coupon. Then they could walk into the dealership, show their phone, get the deal, and it's a conversion. I mean, it's not the same kind of lead as, it's not a full form lead. You're not really necessarily generating a lead, but you're generating results. You're generating somebody to walk through the door.
Not really a question, just a statement. I just did like a study on printing from mobile phones. Millennials print from their mobile phones. That's all my kids do.
Interesting. So Kim over here, she said that she did a study on mobile, and her kids actually do print from mobile devices. What do they do? Are they hooked to a printer or something? Gotcha. So hooked to a wireless printer. I mean, people do it, but we were just trying to do it so if you're out on the go, so it's not a confusing option. So we try to disable anything that is confusing from desktop to mobile. So this was one very successful campaign. The client actually made a positive return on investment on it, even after paying for all the media, paying for all the production. They still got enough people through the door in order to make a positive return on investment, even at a $9.95 oil change, which they lose $7 per oil change at $9.95. So it's their cost about $17.95 to do an oil change for a Honda. So what happened was people come through the door. A lot of people they're losing money on, but then they get the person that needs the new transmission, needs new tires, wants a tune-up, and it ends up being a profitable campaign for them. And we tracked it down to ROI on this, so it was profitable.
Just one quick point of emphasis. A few years back, we said landing page design, landing page design and creative design, simple, even ugly works. That is like times 10 on a mobile device. The simpler and often the uglier the actual creative the ad looks, it far outperforms the stuff that looks beautiful, especially if it has any stock photos in it.
Definitely true. I mean, this is a little bit nicer of a page that we had done for a pretty big burger chain. We were doing a burger chain with a lot of locations. They wanted to try to get more business into the locations, so what we did was we did a claim your free fries offer. We got them to agree to give free fries to anybody that signs up on this form, but we're not asking for a lot of information, just an email address and a zip code. And then what happens is a coupon is emailed to the person, but they are added to the client's email list, and then they could send them other emails. So you're basically exchanging, a free product, which is very cheap. I mean, free fries probably cost like 20 cents for an email address. This is another landing page that did really, really well. This is I know Amanda was hating a little bit on direct mail, but this was actually kind of taken away from direct mail. This was a direct mail piece that was pretty successful, and we transitioned it over to a digital piece. So basically, when Volkswagen was having all their problems, which they still are with the diesel emissions, we were offering $2,000 to buy back their car. We'd pay them $2,000 if they brought their car back and bought a new car. And it looks like it came from Volkswagen, which is one reason that it works. But there's a whole letter here. The people buy in, and then they print themselves a voucher for a $2,000 credit. They have to bring it into the dealership, and they have to buy a new car, and they get $2,000 off the new car. But it did really well, brought a lot of people in, and actually sold a lot of Volkswagens. So online to offline conversions is kind of like reaching its 2.0 phase. It's not all about just, sell the lead to the client, and then the client pays you for the lead, and that's it. It's getting a little more complicated than that because I'm telling you that the amount of leads that are being generated are actually going down. So, as I said, it's no longer just about the full form leads. So there's different ways to attribute online to offline traffic, and I'm going to go through some pretty interesting ways to do it that you may or may not have seen before. I mean, this one's pretty easy, but coupon/voucher redemption. People love coupons. That's why those 3 landing pages that I showed you were all coupon based. 96% of consumers use coupons. 51% of shoppers said they wished all coupons were digital, and 76% of consumers are willing to trade personal information for relevant offers. People love to save money. Even if they're rich, they love to save money. I mean, Ian over here, he doesn't love to save money. But some people do. I like to save money. A lot of people do. So offering a coupon will get people to register and will get a lead generated. So there's different tracking methods you can use. Barcodes you can do if they have a point-of-sale system inside the retailer. You can do promo numbers so they know where the actual coupon came from, which campaign. Or you can manually track it at point of sale. Like just, whoever's the cashier or whoever's handling the money, you show them the mobile device and they keep a tally of where it's coming from. So it's pretty simple to do coupon tracking. But there's way more advanced ways to generate online to offline attribution and actually be able to track it. Matchbacks are super hot. I don't know if you've ever heard about a matchback, but matchbacks are basically like taking one piece of information and trying to match it against the client's database to try to find who came in from an online ad to the store itself. So one thing you could do, and one thing that we were doing on some of these landing pages that we had showed you before, is a landing page one field matchback. So what happens is you collect one field on the landing page. So let's say it's an email address or it's a name, but you'll usually use something like an email address. You request access to the client's sales database, and then you do a match against the two lists. So you match all the email addresses that you generated, all the email addresses that ended up in their sales database, and then see how many match. So this way you can tell if there was 1,000 people that submitted their email address on a landing page and the client made 200 sales in the month and 20 of them matched the landing page email addresses, you can pretty much assume that 20 people were generated from that online campaign to the offline store. Does that make sense to you? So one field matching. So just going, taking your list, comparing it to their list, and seeing what matches. And it's a good way to generate online to offline attribution just because you don't have to generate a full form lead, and all you have to do is take their list, match it to your list, get the matches. That's how many people came in. One thing that we do is saturation email for our clients. So with saturation email, you can rent lists from people, from different list brokers, and what they'll do is they'll give you physical addresses that match the email addresses that they're mailing to. Then what you do is you append the physical address to an email list. So you're emailing, let's say, 100,000 people in a month. Append the physical address. Then you request the sales database from the client again. A lot of this revolves around requesting the sales database, which if you're dealing with a legit business and you have like non-disclosure agreements, usually they will provide to you. Then you take the physical addresses of the 100,000 people that you emailed, match it against the people that are in the database, and come up with matches to see how many people could be attributed back to that email. So it's another way to do online to offline attribution. Not saying we made the sale, but we attributed to it. You know, you touch these people, and then they ended up in the sales database and ended up being an online to offline conversion. Any questions on that one? No. This one's super interesting. It's not 100% reliable, but it is an interesting way to go. It's called IP matchbacks. Anybody here geofencing out there? No? Okay. So with geofencing, you can actually do something called an IP matchback. So this is something that I've not heard really anybody talk about, but I've been playing around with it, and it seems to work pretty well. What you could do is you draw a fence around your client's physical location. Then you set a geofence campaign for their physical location with a frequency of 1 per 24 hours. So you serve them one impression every 24 hours within 1 day of them going into that location. What that does is it basically just captures everybody that's going into your client's physical location and gets their IP address, because you can get their IP address off the ad server that you're serving on. Then what you do is you run your campaign mobile only, take all the IP addresses that were served your ad on a mobile only campaign, match them against the IP addresses of the people that walk through your client's door, and do an IP matchback. This way you can see how many people actually saw your ad versus how many people walked into their location, match them together, and you have matches. I've never really heard of anybody doing it before. I've been playing around with it. It's not 100% reliable because IP addresses do rotate and change. So by the time they see the ad and then walk through the door, there is the opportunity that their IP address has changed if they've gone from different network to network. But it does actually provide matches, and it is a pretty interesting attribution method. And then to get more reliable than just IP matchbacking, there's digital fingerprinting, which is definitely going to start taking off a little more, and it has started taking off, which is trying to get multiple attributes on a user, not just their IP address. So what user agent are they using? What IP address are they on? What cookies do they have in their browser? And then building a little database of all the attributes of that one user and trying to match them back against the attributes of the people that walk through the door. And that's kind of starting to take off, and there's some companies in the space that are starting to do digital fingerprinting and starting to be able to match back data that way. And something that's becoming very hot right now is GPS/geofence matching or geoconversions. I know you do a lot of geo conversions as well. And what that is you market to people that are at specified physical locations. So let's say that you're ABC Honda and you have 10 different Honda dealerships that are your competitors. You advertise inside the competitors' fences, so you draw a fence around each of the competitors. Then when they come into your dealership and enter your fence, it's counted as a conversion, hence a geo conversion. So it's another way to do online to offline conversion. And then where this is all going is beacons. So there's already a lot of companies that are using beacons. Like if you get CVS app or one of these like retailers, you walk into their location, they send you a coupon. Chances are that's being done through a Bluetooth beacon. And this is where everything's going in the future as far as local goes. Planting beacons inside of businesses, getting that beacon to interact with the user's phone to tell them data about the user. So that's kind of where everything's going. It's not quite there yet. Some big companies are doing it. The downfall of using beacons is that you have to have an app associated with the beacon. So that's why mostly big companies are doing it, like CVS or some of the other like pharmacies and other retailers, because people actually use their apps. So installing beacons into their physical locations makes a lot of sense because their apps are already on the people's phone. So to try to do this on a very small level might be difficult because people may not want to download some plumber's app. But it is where it's going. All right, we left some time for questions and answers. Any questions on either one of our presentations or sections? How you doing?
Great info, thank you. Can you talk about geofencing for attorneys? I've heard of some people like geofencing hospitals or car accidents.
Yeah.
That's actually a very interesting take on this. I've never actually thought about doing that.
I'm actually running that exact campaign right now for a personal injury attorney. So getting back to the conversation, what I was trying to allude to earlier when we were talking about SEM, for attorneys in particular, the cost per click is so extraordinarily high that they're looking, and frankly, personal injury attorneys spend a lot of money on advertising anyway. They're looking for any possible way to lower the cost per acquisition for a lead. That was an idea that we took to, we actually started sort of brainstorming with the client about just geofencing places where we knew that there were a lot of car accidents. Like frequently, there were a lot of car accidents. And then through that spitballing session, we started talking about just actually geotargeting or geofencing specific trauma centers that were probably going to be the location that people who were actually injured would be taken to. The pros and cons of that: pro, it's fairly inexpensive. Con, attribution is difficult, especially attribution once it's actually inside the hospital, because you're hitting a lot of people that are not necessarily injured. But personal injury attorneys are a great sort of bleeding edge potential advertising client that will always be willing to try something new. I would say that, what's the old adage? Online marketing is basically pushed to the front by porn, and then everybody else catches up over the next 5 years.
Very true.
I'd say that for the local advertising client, personal injury attorneys are probably where that's at.
I don't know if you do personal injury. I don't know if that's what your niche is, but if I were you, I would try one of these one field landing pages.
Mm-hmm.
Like give me a call. Let me talk to you. Just let them put their phone number in from a geofenced ad, and then let them call from there. Or you can also do geofence click to call. Is another way to go about it.
That's what we're doing.
So there are click to call ads when it comes to geofencing. So I actually really love that idea. It's a good idea.
Yeah, the click-to-call campaign is great, too, because you can actually monitor some amount of attribution because you can go to a specific phone number.
And are you running Facebook, or is there any other way to do the geofencing?
You can with Facebook. It's not as specific. And the problem is, think about the context. If somebody's in a car accident, they're probably going to be looking for their attorney's phone number or an attorney's phone number. They're probably not going to be logging into Facebook. It's possible, but hopefully they're not. Hopefully they're actually trying to resolve their immediate problem.
I wouldn't be surprised to see an accident selfie, though.
I was thinking more like families there, like three of us were in a car accident.
Mm-hmm.
So two guys went to the hospital and they were there for 4 hours. I'm sure they checked Facebook.
Yeah, that's possible. That's absolutely something to test. And I would say, I would stress, and this is something that we've stressed before, the smartest marketer in the room is always, always, always the person that tests the most things. So test everything. And if that's something that you want to do it. And, getting back to Brandon's presentation on attribution, to borrow from Don Draper, he said, you start losing a client the moment you get them. It's so true. If you don't really lock down the attribution side of local advertising and you can't prove that you're actually providing some end that's going to benefit the advertiser, you're going to lose them. So test everything and figure out whatever way you want to, like, figure out attribution, make sure that you're doing that.
I mean, if I was a lawyer and if I wanted to run this lawyer campaign, there's another sketchy way you could go about this. So I love sketchy. So whatever is the roundabout weird way to go about doing this, what you should do is you go to the hospital, you get on their Wi-Fi system, you go to ipchicken.com, find out what their IP address is, then do IP retargeting. So because most of the people that are there are going to probably be on Wi-Fi, you get what the IP address is of the Wi-Fi, plug it into one of the IP retargeting systems, and then you can actually serve ads to only people that are on that IP address, and that IP address is only going to belong to the hospital. So it's another roundabout way of going about this.
And the nice thing is if you get a guest Wi-Fi versus the normal Wi-Fi that the doctors and nurses are, you're probably going to actually be hitting patients or family of patients.
Right, because they'll be there for a while, and it's probably going to be crazy cheap for you to serve the ads.
Yep, absolutely.
What other networks in addition to Facebook?
You can IP, well, no, you can't use IP targeting with Google. You're going to have to use like third-party ad networks, like the Rubicons of the world, the bigger ad networks, and you're going to need a DSP, so like a demand-side platform to do it. But it is possible to do it.
By market share, I think the largest DSP is probably the Trade Desk.
There's other ones like Media Math out there. There's tons of them. One that has a very low minimum is Site Scout, or I think they're called Centro now. Any other questions? So to send them a text coupon, I have in-house developers, so I integrate with Twilio's API. So Twilio is kind of like a cloud-based communications platform. So you can like provision phone numbers out of there. You can provision texting numbers, and then you can use their API to deploy texts. And it's crazy cheap. You just have to integrate with the API, so you need a programmer, unless you're a programmer, you know.
What's cool still about some of these burgeoning technologies like digital out of home is that it's still, when it's super new, you can actually go in there and hold sway and negotiate media buys like you would have done a few years ago for a display campaign. I remember Brandon Adcock talking about negotiating media buys privately and how much money he was saving. For digital out of home right now, for example, if it's not available programmatically because there's only a few networks that are running them right now, you can actually call up Lamar or Outfront, or in central Pennsylvania we have a little one called Kegger Ice. It doesn't matter. Call them up and offer to just like spend the money and buy 1/8. They usually run 8 cycles of ads. Buy 1/8 for a month. It is a lot cheaper than you think it is. And that's a great way to be able, that's a great like bonus or service ad to be able to offer your clients.
Any other questions? We love questions. All right.
So I liked your examples with the landing pages and whether it's a coupon offer or free fries or whatever it might be. Have you ever used a sweepstakes or instant win offer to help incentivize those behaviors?
Sweepstakes. We have done. I'm just trying to think about what I've done. I mean, we've done stuff in the past with celebrities, where because a lot of my clients end up working with celebrities like sports stars and things of that nature. We did something where we had a signing with somebody that was on the New York Jets, and we were incentivizing that if they filled out the form, they got an entry to come to the meet and greet. So like, there's ways to do it that way too. I don't know if you're generating the best sales lead that way, because as soon as you start incentivizing anything, usually the quality of the sales lead will go down. So you can definitely try it, and it's trial and error. You can even do things like there's companies out there that'll insure contests. So a lot of you sometimes see like car dealers, they'll do if you throw something in the window of the car, you could potentially win $1 million or some crazy thing, or if this key starts the car. Those are all insured contests, and there's companies out there that you can actually pay them a fee to insure some kind of contest for any amount of money, and it's not super expensive to do it because it's almost impossible to win the contest. But they keep it like compliant and legal and all the stuff that you need to not get in trouble.
I work for one of those companies.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, your fruits, for example, like you mentioned, it was 20 cents for a free fry. We would do something where
That's cool.
healthy as that might be, I feel like 2 or 3 cents.
Hey, see me afterwards. Maybe we have some business. We deal with companies that are like that.
I haven't done anything sweepstakes related with local clients on this end, aside from event-driven promotions. Generally speaking, deal hawks tend not to be loyal, kind of implicitly. I think Groupon and Living Social have sort of borne that out. So it's not something that I've done, or not something that I've advised clients do on a regular basis. But certainly for driving a specific event, or if you have something tied with the very specific event, like a promotion for a car dealership promotions around the big holidays, certainly that's really big. We actually run a lot of ads and a lot of ad campaigns leading up to a holiday promotion. Also, I think the highest ROI campaign I've ever run was actually marketing a wine festival to winos.
Can't beat alcohol.
Yeah, no, the ROI on that one was pretty crazy.
Any other questions?
You mentioned texting. There's a lot of talk about like form to text and stuff like that. Can you expand on that?
So form to text, the question was, can I expand on form to texting? I mean, we use it mostly just as a communication medium, usually one way, because we don't market really much through texting because there's a lot of compliance issues there. And we certainly wouldn't want to fall on the wrong side of legal issues. But as far as people just giving you their number in order to receive a text, which is automatic, and they're basically opting in, as I was telling this woman in the front, we use Twilio for that. So we use their API to deploy the text. We usually then don't market to them afterwards because I don't feel like. Because on the stuff I do a lot of big ticket items, so like I don't feel like you're going to convert them by constantly texting them. So we don't do a lot of marketing through text, but we do use it as a method to deliver a message, a coupon, usually a one-time type of messaging. It's really simple to integrate with Twilio if you guys want to. You can literally start an account for like $10. Mm-hmm. It's a cloud-based messaging platform, and it's very, very effective, and a lot of big players are actually using it. I don't know if it's Google, but I know one of the big guys is actually using the API of Twilio to power their whole, like call tracking and texting.
The one thing I would say, if you're in the affiliate marketing space and not having great success with it, local advertising or developing your own agency is a really, really strong play right now. You're certainly not the first mover, but you're still early enough that you can carve out an extremely lucrative niche for yourself, especially once you start. The absence of knowledge about basic performance marketing from digital campaigns and local marketplaces, even with pure play digital agencies, is astounding. And the amount of money involved is incredible. So, I mean,
there's definitely a lot of people in the space. It's not like it's untapped, but a lot of the people that are in the space are like snake oil salesmen. So like there's a lot of pitches out there. There's a lot of lying out there because the local clients, they don't really understand anything when it comes to digital. So, some hot, slick salesman walks in and says they promised them the world and the magic bullet to all their problems, takes their money, and doesn't really deliver very much.
Yep.
The opportunity is where if you could be trusted in the long term to generate results for the clients, they'll stick with you forever. So, I mean, we've had clients for over 10 years doing digital that have never left. So.
And I promise you, if you know any of the content of this particular, especially the attribution modeling, or if you can talk knowledgeably about IP or geofencing, IP targeting and geofencing, you will be leaps and bounds ahead of your local marketplace.
Yeah, you're talking about pretty cutting edge as far as geofencing and IP targeting. There's very few companies out there that are doing that are smaller. There's huge retailers that are doing it, but on the smaller level, it's really not used very much right now, and it's definitely a boat that's being missed. Any other questions? All right, that will conclude our session. If you end up with any questions, let us know. We'll be up here to answer anything you want privately. Thanks for coming out, and we'll see you at Affiliate Summit.